After weeks of handling business at home, the Chinese and U.S. governments are back at the negotiating table.
We had a very productive working dinner last night, and we're looking forward to meetings today. Nice to see you all. Thank you very much.
Vice Premier Liu He, U.S. Trade Representative Lighthizer, and Treasury Secretary Mnuchin have had several rounds of negotiations on China-US trade and economic issues over the phone. The two sides have made some progress, but there is still a large amount of work remaining to be done.
China's eager to reach an agreement with the U.S. to prop up its exports and boost its slowing economy. As a concession, the Asian nation has increased its purchase of American soybeans. That contributed to the 15% decline in the U.S. trade deficit in January after reaching a record high in 2018. This round of talks is also the first since China overhauled its foreign investment laws to address American concerns and open up its economy. In particular, Beijing says it's lifting a decades-old practice of forcing foreign companies operating in China to hand over technology to local partners.
We will further widen market access to foreign investment. By the end of June this year, we will release the newly revised negative list on market access to foreign investment.
Negotiations will return to Washington at the beginning of April. That's as analysts warn of a possible U.S. recession in the coming months, giving the Trump administration plenty of incentive to finalize a deal. Paolo Montecillo, TRT World.
Well, let's get more on the story now from Newton, Massachusetts. We've got Matt Maley, the Managing Director of investment firm Miller Tabak. Welcome back to Money Talks, Matt. There seemed to be a little fanfare surrounding these latest talks. In the past, we've seen US President Donald Trump eagerly tweet before and after these meetings, trumpeting success and perhaps predicting success. But what is that a sign of, do you think? How do you think these talks went?
Well, I mean, one of the things, of course, we got from, I think it was yesterday, the day before, where Larry Kudlow came out and said that this thing could drag out for a long time, many, many months were the words he used. And that's got a lot of people starting to think now that, this is going to take, something well into the summer or even longer. I mean, remember just not that long ago, everybody was saying, this has got to be done or it's going to be done or some sort of resolution is going to be take place by March. Well, now we're at the end of March and nothing's happened there. It doesn't look like it's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. And so people are a little bit, the boy who cried wolf. We've seen a little too much and they want to get something a little bit more concrete, especially because the president is talking about keeping these tariffs on and talking a lot about the compliance issue, which seems to be a major sticking point.
Yeah, so in the past, we've also seen Donald Trump impose some very strict deadlines. You mentioned that March deadline. They were supposed to have signed an agreement by the end of the month. And we've also seen Trump threaten various escalation of these tariffs if China didn't come to the table in the hope of hurrying these talks along. Why do you think we've seen the president ease the pressure?
Well, I think part of it, I hate to say this, but one thing we do know that President Trump is very sensitive to the stock market. And this issue has calmed down a little bit. The stock market is no longer reacting to every little tweet or every little comment out of Steve Mnuchin or Larry Kudlow or the president. And so that the markets have calmed down a little bit, that gives him a better feeling for that he doesn't really necessarily have to push as hard to get things done. And another thing, of course, too, is that the stock market has bounced back 20%. When it was down near its lows, he felt like he was losing a lot of leverage. Now that it's bounced back very nicely, he's got more leverage than he once had. That said, he still has the election coming up in a year and a half or a little more than a year and a half, and he certainly doesn't want a recession going on at that time frame. So he doesn't want this thing to drag out forever. But it looks like he's bought himself a little bit more time than he felt he had, say, in January and February when the market was much lower.
The two sides after these latest talks have given little away about what they actually spoke about. We did see Steve Mnuchin tweet that the talks were constructive, but we also saw another development. Chinese regulators approved an application by the Wall Street banking giant JP Morgan to establish a majority-controlled brokerage in China, which is a bit of a big deal considering China's notoriously protected financial services sector. Do you think this is a sign that perhaps Beijing is looking to throw a bone to the US side?
It certainly looks that way. I mean, the one thing is that they want to give up, like anything in any other negotiation, you want to give as little as possible, but you always be willing to give a little bit more than you initially wanted to get something done. The big question is how hardline is the American administration going to be? Are we really going to get the intellectual property? Are we really going to get what we want in terms of assurances on compliance? That's going to be much harder to give. However, this, I think, this, like you mentioned, this is a significant move by China, and the fact that they're showing some signs to meet us halfway makes it a little bit harder for President Trump to be pound the table so hard and say they're the ones they're the reasons that this thing isn't working, if that indeed turns out to be the case. I think we do get a deal, but this, like as you mentioned, right now neither side benefits from saying that the deals aren't going well, because both are worried about their markets, both are worried about a slowdown in the economy, and they want at least to keep the appearance that things are going well.
Interesting. We also know that the two sides will be meeting in Washington next week to continue these negotiations. What can we expect from those talks? Do you think we'll see a similar incremental developments, or can we expect something more significant?
I think based on the body language and the verbiage coming out of both sides, it looks like it's going to take a longer time. Unless President Trump, you never know with President Trump. Maybe he's trying to keep a lid on it so he can come in with a big surprise that'll make him look good. He's riding high after this whole Mueller report coming out and at least, I don't say exonerating him, but certainly saying that there was no collusion going on. So he's riding high. I don't think he really needs to push that hard right now. So I think he's this thing is still going to drag out for a while longer, but that's okay. I mean, these negotiations are tough. And when he was putting timelines, specific timelines on it, it just made it too hard for the two sides to really make constructive gains in the negotiations.
Yes, and we will keep an eye on those talks next week. Matt Maley, thank you again for your time.